plans. We give you a lot of choices. By selecting certain floor plans, they're just easier to build. And you couple that with our great lot selection in all different areas. People do not want to be married to their house payment. They want to get a nice house with nice finishes in a great area for an affordable price. And that's what Remington Homes are all about.
Home building is easier with a Remington home from Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at remingtonlincoln.com. remingtonlincoln.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning. Now in our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. The home of Kansas City Royals baseball. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Live from the 93.7 The Ticket studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. This is Lloyds in Lincoln with former Syracuse Orange and Long Beach State basketball star Ramel Lloyd Sr. and current Nebraska basketball athlete Ramel Lloyd Jr. on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here are your hosts, Ramel Sr. and Ramel Jr.
All right, welcome back into Ticket Weekends. I am Harrison Arns pushing the ones and twos. We got Ramel Lloyd Sr. in here, the host as always. No Ramel Lloyd Jr. He's got some basketball shoot-around going on right now. Hopefully we can get him in later, but if not, obviously his priorities are obvious and what he needs to be working on. So nonetheless, good to have Ramel Lloyd Sr. in here as always. And we bring in special guest Jason Hart, head coach of the G League Ignite, brought to you by VIP Line. Brought to you by Allo Fiber, where you understand the importance of exceptional service with local heart. So again, shout out to Allo for all the great work they do here in Lincoln. But we bring in Jason Hart. Jason, how's it going, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
Not too bad. We got Ramel Lloyd Sr. in the building. I know you guys go way back, so I'm not sure where you guys want to pick it up, but I'll throw it to you, Ramel.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Happy to be here. Happy Sunday, as always. Checking in today with a really, really special guest that we bring into the listeners here in Lincoln. Personal friend, brother of mine, and he's doing huge, huge things in the basketball community. We can start off with his career first. Of course, Syracuse University legend, move on to the NBA, have a great career there. And I think one of the biggest feats now is just as much the knowledge and youth that he's giving back to our youth now and coaching over at the G League Ignite, which is a huge, huge responsibility in the overall game. So as a brother, I'm super, super proud of this man, and I'm excited to have him on the show. So no further ado, it's Jason Hart. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's going on, Rock? We go back to 1995, man. Ramel Lloyd was the best player at ABCD camp. Led it in scoring, let it be known.
Yes, sir.
Players at the camp was Tim Thomas, Kobe Bryant, Shaheen Holloway, Jamal McGlure, Kenyon Martin. So that's how I met Rock. I said, "Who's this dude?" He was beast in that camp in 1995, July, Teaneck, New Jersey. Yeah. Let that be known first.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Those are definitely some good times. I mean, just so excited to be just part of that class, which was so special. We can't even name everybody because we'd be missing so many people. But shout out to '96 class.
Oh, my bad. We forgot Jermaine O'Neal. He was there too.
You got Jermaine, yeah. There's a couple more.
That's a loaded class.
Odom.
You had Odom in there too.
Well, Lamar wasn't in our class, but he was.
But he was at the camp.
He was a year younger than us. Sure, on my team in camp, we had Khalid El-Amin and Rich Hamilton. We were on the same team.
Yeah.
So, it was a special camp during that time. Shout out to Sonny Vaccaro, who ran that camp. Adidas, Adidas camp back then. Adidas was running everything in the high school basketball. But let's fast forward here to the future a little bit on the show, Jay. We've been talking a lot about international basketball versus, our young guys here coming up. And, of course, with all of the guys in the NBA that's top players in our league are like European or from other places. So the question that we had over here was, what's the difference? You're like right hands on with this. So what's the difference between those young guys and our young guys in the development, and who's better at this point?
Well, right now, I mean, that's a good question. It's honest. I mean, right now, the European players in the NBA, the elite ones, they are better. I mean, if you look at Joel Embiid, Giannis, Luka, just those top three alone, man, we got to play catch up. And I think the main thing is their basketball training and tutelage start. I want to say it starts younger, but their school system is different from ours. Our kids, we grow up going to school 8-9 hours a day. They grow up and probably finish middle school, then become pros quicker. So when you become a pro quicker, you get to work on your craft for a longer period of time earlier. And so I think that's why they have an advantage on us. Tony Parker, one of my former teammates, he started playing pro at 15 years old. And so while me and you was in class, Rock, he was developing his game. So by the time they get to the pros, they already play pro basketball. So I think they got a more of an advantage because they don't have a college system like we do.
Yeah. I agree. That was kind of what we was talking about a little bit. And I remember when Tony had came out, I think that was my year coming out. We had workout down in Charlotte. Tony Parker was there. That was my first time meeting him. He just looked like a little kid and had no clue what he was going to turn out to be from that workout. But shout out Tony Parker. But yeah, we talked a lot about that here on the show. But what's the difference between, is there still, when we were coming up, we thought European guys were what we would call kind of soft, non-athletic, things of that nature. Is that changing as well? Or are there, is that just a stereotype, or is that something that you see changing with them becoming better players?
Well, when me and you was coming up, you're right. The term soft did go at European players because they played a different style and brand. But now if you look at FIBA basketball, it's more physical than the NBA basketball. And so I just think that the game has grown so much, Rock, that the skill level has caught up. I mean, we're even now as far as skill. So now we got to worry about like the country of Africa, catching up as well. So we just got to stay, doing diligent. We still run basketball, but Jokic, he's the king of basketball right now. So we got to get in the gym. We got to get work to do.
Yeah, that's weird to say.
I do wonder, and Hart, I'm curious what you think about this, because we were talking about some of these European players having the edge by kind of playing that pro style earlier, getting there, whether it's 15, 16, 17. Do you think the G League is kind of becoming that platform and it's going to continue to grow? Because we're seeing players like Scoot Henderson and just players from the Ignite drafted alone. Do you think we're going to see more talented players continue to go to the G League as opposed to spending the time in college, and that's going to develop to a more pro style, ready to go to the NBA kind of player?
Well, it's always going to be college is going to always rule first, because at the end of the day, you have way more options. It's over 300 schools to play basketball at, so it's always going to be king. But the G League is just options for European talents and other nations, as well as top high school kids. And then NBA owners use the G League for their first round picks to develop, just kind of like the baseball system. So they're going to have that. But you will see more international prospects coming to Ignite. I have 3 on my team this year, and they're all slated to be drafted in the top 20. And so they're coming from pro to pro. They don't want to go back to college, or not back. They don't want to go to college and get put in that box. So they want to come play professional. And then the scouts judge them at an early age on the professional level, so they get the benefit of the doubt over our college kids.
Yeah.
So then when it comes to coaching, those players on that team, I'd imagine that being the head coach of a team like that roster, a lot of those guys' goal is to get to that next level. So what is kind of the challenge of constructing that roster and kind of delegating, who's playing what minutes and getting guys ready to make that jump?
Well, my boss, Sharif Abdul-Rahim, who's a basketball mind, he helps construct the roster. Rod Strickland, who Rock knows, he was with us before. He was doing the roster as well. And so we basically recruit like a college, but we recruit and we don't put players on top of each other. It's a development. Ignite is a development program. So we're playing 50 physical games. So everybody's not playing a full 50. So it's not about having to play 50 games, 30 minutes. The scouts need to see 25 to 30 games, but they need to see that you know how to play the NBA style. So although we have more prospects this year than normal, nobody's going to play 50 games. It's just too much wear and tear on their body. So it may be 3 games you may play and then 2 you may sit just because your load management of your body. So I don't worry about that part. And then about divvying the minutes and all that, every player that comes to Ignite wants to be a pro. So we got to get you to where Steve Kerr wants to draft you. So you got to start doing the things that they want to see you, not what you like to do. Is what they and how they going to draft you. So we got to get to that part of your game. And for the most part, I've had a good time, and we've had some great dialogue with our players.
No, yeah, that's outstanding. That development. Now, Jay, you're turning into what they would call like a developmental guru. Just with you being in this position. I mean, I've known you and your coaching, even when you go back to the Taft days in high school, all the way into now, and your whole thing has been development. It's a coach's, a player's coach sort of sense. Can you tell us just a little bit more about the 3 young men that you had drafted this year and what their process was like first coming into the G League, maybe some of the struggles that they had, maybe some of the things that you need to develop them and to where they are now?
So the first prospect was Scoot Henderson. He came to the program last season at 17 years old. He was a young man out of Atlanta who was just like a super focused but talented guy. I think when you mix those two, you get dynamite with what he was. He was down to where he didn't even eat donut, sugar, candy, soda at 17. So he was on some other at 17.
Yeah.
Locked in. He was one of the ones where you get to the gym and he working himself out. So he had another thing in his brain what he was trying to be. The other prospect from Canada was Leonard Miller. He was the 33rd pick, 6'10", small forward, power forward. Had to learn how to play that position. He had never played the big before in high school. He was a point guard. So we had to convince him through relationship that this is what can get you drafted. And he bought into it. I thought he went a little low at 33, but he had a really good summer league and he signed, a guaranteed contract. So I'm happy for him. CD Sissoko, that was my 18-year-old from France, 6'7", small forward, shooting guard. He was a 44th pick from France, played on the U18 France team, been playing pro ball since he was 15. Another big wing guard. He passes better than he shoots, but again, since he's only 18, those scouts give those guys the benefit of the doubt. And he played the whole season at 18, so he got drafted to the Spurs, a team that loves international players. And then the 49th pick was Mojave King from Australia. He was one that was better than Josh Giddey, Dyson Daniels, all those guys when he was younger. And so what happened with him, he stayed and played pro ball in Australia, got caught up on the team to where they was playing the older guys. And so his stock dropped. He came to Ignite, played, did a really good job, showcased what he can do. And he didn't even start and was a 49th pick. So it's not always about starting. I know everybody want to start. You just got to show these people what you can do. And so this was the first year where Ignite went 4 for 4. And
4. I said 3. Excuse me. 4. That's even more impressive.
Yeah, we went 4 for 4, and that was really something I was proud of because everybody got a chance to have their dreams come true.
Oh, that's outstanding. That's outstanding. That's good that you mentioned the age thing because that's kind of what I want to move into next. Now that there are so many different opportunities for young guys to come out and showcase their stuff at a pro level, let's compare that to college now, where the college game now is becoming older with the transfer portal and coaches, getting guys that has experience to help them win games versus the younger guys that may be in the long run better players and the pros. So how does that affect? How does that affect the scouting and pros and moving forward? How do they value that? Like if you know what I'm saying, that the question is basically like, you got young guys playing in college. They probably won't play as much or so because they got older guys ahead of them, but they're still talented down the line. Like, does that affect their scouting? What do you suggest for that? And by the way, Jason has a young son as well. We're gonna go into that too. That's in college, so we all kind of going through this whole thing together. But,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Well, you know what? College is becoming older because, the ADs don't have patience no more with coaches, so it's a trickle down effect. So if the AD doesn't have patience with a coach about winning and development, then the portal becomes the safe haven to not have to teach right away, right? It used to be like we would teach our young guys, they would get better from freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. So now they're expecting college coaches, to me, expecting 18-year-olds to have the mind of a 22-year-old right now at all levels, high major, mid major, and low. So that's the difference. So college is becoming older, right, which is less attractive to NBA scouts.
Exactly. That was the next question that we were going to.
It's less attractive, but for a college coach, he can win. He probably will win because he got 25-year-olds and 26-year-olds who's playing, but that's just suited for the college coach so he can keep his job, which I get, it's a business. But it does nothing for the young talent. Now, Rock, you still can get drafted as a senior. You just got to be really good, a la Jaime Jaquez, UCLA.
Absolutely.
So when he went to his workouts, he just dominated. And then they went back and looked at his film and seen that it matched. So he snuck into the first round as a senior. But he was only one.
That's only one.
He was only one.
So basically, are scouts able to pick out and distinguish a young player that's in college that's possibly not getting as many minutes, possibly not a major part of their team, but can you see their talent and still say, hey, this guy's a pro, we're interested in development in our program moving forward in the NBA? Or is it making it harder being at the minutes or less and the roles or less for these?
Well, Rock, this young man, Peyton Watson,
yes,
went
sir.
to UCLA with a high name, a high NBA grade, didn't get a chance to play, probably wasn't ready, but the NBA scouts knew that he was a talent. And so he was more like a grab and stash for Denver. They didn't send him overseas. They sent him to the G League. He developed, played summer league this summer, averaged 18, 19. So now he's part of their future. So they can see it. It's just if one of these GMs, Calvin Booth, who was a former player, took him and knew the plan for him. And so that still happens as well. And it was because he had a brand and a name prior to UCLA. Although he didn't play, they knew the talent. They drafted him anyway.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. Shout out to Peyton Watson and his family. They're from Long Beach. I've been knowing Peyton since he was a young kid. He's played in my program, and we'll have him. We're going to work on getting him on the show, him and his dad at some point. It's something for our fans. But let's move on to young Jay. Our history goes so far back. I mean, Jason and I were freshman college roommates, so we actually lived together, and we were on the same timeline. We got kids like the same age. Both our wives were both living with us while we were in college in Syracuse, and they're, of course, our current wives. So we just kind of grew together. And then it's funny, I moved to California, and Jason's in New York, and then we later on our kids ended up on the same high school team. Taft High School out in the Valley in California. So give us a little update about Baby J, the baby J, because you used to be Baby J, but baby.
So my son, he was a freshman this past year at Long Beach State. He redshirted this year. He had like these migraines and he kept getting sick, so he wasn't playing that much anyway. So he decided to redshirt and learn the system and got stronger and. Just going through that process, man, and trying to figure out college life without help. It's like their own little personal journey that you're a dad, I'm a dad. There's nothing we can do. We can't go in the office. Only thing we can do is encourage. Yeah. And so he's going through that process right now, and now he'll be a redshirt freshman this year. So hopefully he learned a lot and try to figure out the system to where he can get an actual shot of some playing time. But just like any other freshman in the country, they go through that process and learning how to and what not to do. And responsibilities and all that stuff. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. It's year 2. And, as you know, Rock, it's a difficult challenge with freshmen these days, but you just got to hang in there and keep fighting.
Yeah, keep fighting. Yeah, well, that's another thing that we got in common with the boys. They both redshirted this year.
Yeah.
So, I know on my end, we're dealing with Ramel. I know that he felt like he gained some valuable, information, study habits, practice habits. Like you said, just growing up, becoming a young man, living on his own, being on time and, things of that nature. So I know that helped him out a lot. Has Jason expressed any of those things?
He had an instance where they had the bus leaving for the game, and it was a 9:00 bus, and he 9:05. So that's part of it. You know what I mean? And that's what you got to go through. And sometimes you need that feeling in your stomach, like, oh, I messed up. You know what I mean? Because that's the only way how you learn. And so he went through that a few times, and just, a lot of it was the discouraging of not playing, thinking you don't belong. And that's where you got to be your own coach. You got to be your own motivator. You got to be your own strength. And that's what he had to deal with last year. So hopefully that helped him and prepared him for this year.
Then before we go to break here, one more question, just for both of you guys, because you guys both have sons kind of going through this right now. What do you think that biggest challenge is for freshmen coming in, to D1 today? Is it just trying to figure out where you're at on the roster? Because we talked about it, right? The rosters are getting older. Is it trying to figure out where you stand? Is it that taking that red shirt? What's the biggest challenge, coming in for a freshman in today's era compared to your guys' era?
Yeah, I'll start first. I think some of the challenges are still similar, even though there's a big age gap and difference. But when you come in as a freshman, every freshman in a high school situation was probably the best player on their team. And the accountability, they was able probably to do whatever they wanted to do in high school, taking different shots, taking time off on defense, or whatever the case may be. It's not always the same for everyone, but I think it's just the fact of finding what your role is going to be on that team, excelling in that role, understanding and learning what you need to do to get on the court before you start implementing what you want to do with your game. So college is a coach's game, so you're gonna have to figure out what your coach needs you to do first before you can come in and start thinking about what you're trying to do for yourself. That's what I think.
Now you're right. I got two things. One, I think that nowadays, and just to touch back on the NBA, if you're a top 50, 60 kid, you don't have to go to the Syracuse like me and Rock no more. I can go to a lower level from the jump and do well and get drafted, right? Yeah. The scouts are doing that now. So you don't have to go as high no more for your dream to come true. I think a lot of our kids get caught up in that. And then two, I think the main thing what college coaches want is the defensive end first, knowing who to tag, who to guard, how to do this, how to do that. And then that's what gets you a minute. So those are the two things for me that freshmen need. Go to the right school where they need you from day one, and two, knowing defensive principles and stuff from day one.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll throw it to break here, but I think that's absolutely true. Those two-way players, that's always going to go away. If you can shoot the three ball and you can play defense, you can typically find a spot. Yeah, you have a shot. That's a shot for there. We'll go ahead and throw it to break. This is Lloyds in Lincoln. I got Ramel Lloyd Sr., the host of the show, across the table. I'm Harrison Arns, pushing the ones and twos. We got special guest, head coach of the G League Ignite, Jason Harton, here as well. We'll throw it to break and catch you guys on the other side.
Yes, sir.
You've driven by GE Landscape Supply countless
Big Rock. Thank you, dog.
6701 Cornhusker Highway. Now it's time to stop in. GE Landscape Supply sells to homeowners and contractors with a vast selection of landscaping and construction materials. They sell in bulk to save you money, and you can buy anything from a 5-gallon bucket to a semi-load. And don't forget, they deliver anywhere. Stop by 6701 Cornhusker Highway from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday and 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturdays. Go to GELandscapesupply.com for more info or call 402-467-1627.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1, what's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2, join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving. Go cardio crazy in our clean and spacious clubs, or get down with some dumbbells and strength equipment. Step 3, bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month. It's glow time. See club for details.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
This is how we do every day. We be grinding, and if you wanna come and text us,
if you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
this is Mommy's jam,
then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here. I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart and pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It's a new era for Nebraska football with a new head coach. Gear up for the season with 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days. Live from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis on July 26th and 27th. Jay Foreman, Amon Green, Vershawn Jackson, Terrell Farley, Derek Pearson, Steve Sipple, and Jake Sorensen will be in Indy for our shows on Wednesday and Thursday. Coverage of Big Ten Media Days is brought to you by Ben Bleicher of Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador Real Estate, Gary Michaels Clothiers, Warhorse Gaming, A1 Automotive, and the 1890 Initiative.
Hey guys, Jake Sorensen here from Early Break, and on behalf of the entire 93.7 The Ticket team, we are excited to announce this fall we are teaming up with Husker Extra for the Big Red Brunch. We'll have big names from now and the past from Husker Sports, and that all starts on Wednesday, August 9th for the Big Red Brunch Golf Scramble at Tiburon Golf Club in Gretna. Sign up to play today at omaha.com and find the Big Red Brunch tab. You won't want to miss this on August 9th at Tiburon in Gretna.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them?
By their clothes,
their age,
the way they speak.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Lloyds in Lincoln with your hosts, Ramel Lloyd Sr. and Ramel Lloyd Jr.
All right, welcome back into Lloyds and Lincoln here on Ticket Weekends on 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com. I'm Harrison Arns pushing the ones and twos. We got host of Lloyds and Lincoln, Ramel Lloyd Sr. here with us, and special guest, head coach of the G League Ignite, Jason Hart. And again, he's brought to you on the Allo VIP line. Brought to you by Allo Fiber, where we understand the importance of exceptional service with local heart. So again, shout out to Allo for sponsoring us. And again, great service. If you're not using Allo in Lincoln, I won't name the other competitors, but you're making a mistake, to say the least. Allo is definitely a way to go. But we'll bring Jason Hart back in here. And over the break, me and Ramel were talking a little bit. We're just impressed with Scoot Henderson overall. And I'm really curious kind of what your experience with him was like, because the Summer League, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because you don't want to take 2 games from the Summer League and just kind of run with it. But what I saw in that short amount of time is it looks like he can pretty much go around anyone. He's built like a man already, kind of coming in there. You notice that right away was his build, but he plays with pace as well, but not out of control. I don't want to say he got like CP3, but almost facets of his game. Despite being that big already, definitely plays with a bit of control. So I just kind of want to ask, What was your experience like coaching Scoot Henderson, and was there anything that just jumped out about you right away?
Well, he has elite level athleticism. To be that young, he was built like that at 17. So for me, to be that young and being able to contribute at the pro level, and his first couple games in the G League before he got into the scouting report, he had like 30 and 31. But it was that and his level of focus and his maturity. But a lot of people forget, like as the draft process went on before the draft, Brandon Miller and Victor Wembanyama. But Scoot had been playing pro ball for 2 years. And so what we preach at Ignite, what I preach is one of my methods is it doesn't matter the number on the left side of your name when you get drafted. It's a matter if you're going to be ready when you get there. And so his 2 years in playing pro ball, I guarantee like in 3 years when those guys get those max contracts, he'll be up there with those guys as well. So went to a right fit. I'm a point guard. He went from my hands right to Chauncey Billups. So I think that's going to help him moving forward with his development because he's playing for coaches that played his position. Now you get Chauncey Billups, who's a champion and a former Finals MVP. So he landed in the right hands.
Absolutely. And then the next guy that I want to get into before we kind of go back to some of you guys' past is Leonard Miller. We talked to him a little bit before. 6'10" man out of Canada, international game, power forward, small forward is kind of where the mold you had to kind of place him in. What was that development of a guy like that? Because you said it took a little bit to kind of get him to necessarily move to those positions so he gets to the next level. But what did you see in him and what made that move make sense? Like if you're going to get to the next level, let's put you in the small forward, power forward position.
Yeah, well, in high school, he played point guard. And so, I don't know if the NBA is going to draft you a point guard. And so, what I was when I mentioned earlier was relationship building. Like, I'm not coaching these young men as if I was Phil Jackson and they are who they are. It's like we got to build a real relationship, a bond, and we communicate as like we're friends and I'm big brother, you little brother. So it's not like you got to do this. It's you trust me and understand. And so that's how we had him get the switch from point guard to small forward, power forward, because that's where you're going to get drafted at. And I think with his guard skills, being that he's that tall, it can translate when he rebounds. And so I just told him, if you want to push the ball up the court, I don't have no problem. Just get every rebound. And so he averaged 12 rebounds. And him averaging the rebounds is what got him drafted.
Absolutely. And then real quick before, one last question about your G League players, one more about Scoot Henderson, because he's going to have some chances for spotlight. And the reason I'm asking about him is because he's going to have a pretty clear road to get some playing time. On the Portland Trailblazers, what are you expecting for him that's going to stick right away? That's something that he can enter into the NBA today, and that skill's already polished enough that we're going to see that game 1, game 2, game 3.
Well, explosiveness and speed, 2 things you can't teach. So he has an ability to get by who's in front of him. And that's a high-level asset for NBA because when he gets by, he can collapse the defense and kick out for shots. So he can do that constantly, and that's one thing he can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see it. I think that the Rookie of the Year race overall is just going to be incredible. Because
Harrison's a big fan over. He's a fan of Scoot. I think probably end up being the better player in this draft over the long haul.
We talked about it over the break, but there's a lot of hype for Victor Wembanyama. But when I sat down to watch it and I got to see Scoot Henderson firsthand, I had to do a little bit of reevaluation. I'm like, okay, who's this guy? And when he's going to be, I'll say it this way, the Portland Trailblazers, that's going to be a league pass team, to say the least. Yeah, that's where I'm at with them.
Well, they got some great young talent up there too to go along with them. It's going to be fun. Both of those guys, obviously the first 2 top picks are extremely, extremely talented and unique in their own right, in their own way. And they're both going to be special, in my opinion, moving down the line. But we talked a little bit about some of the guys that you coached, Jay, and the G League, but we kind of skipped the whole deal because look, we only got an hour on the show. I know, me and Jay's gonna be over here talking. This show could be 2 days long. But I just kind of want to go back a little bit because we talked about you as a coach and how you built yourself up as a developer of young talent. And I mentioned your high school coaching. I think your first year in high school. I want to believe you just got a city championship, and first year of coaching, and then I believe you went right to Pepperdine, I want to say, after that, and then you spent a ton of time at USC in California. And of course, USC has been known lately for getting a lot of top young players coming in there as of recent, and Jason Hart has been instrumental in building and help building that program over there. So I want you to, Jay, just to touch on a little bit about your USC days, some of the talent that you've coached, some of the talent you've brought in, and transition us into how the G League Ignite became where you're at now and in your future. So
when I completed my basketball playing days, I knew I wanted to get into coaching. And so the best way for me to do that was to not skip steps. Start off in the AAU, 2011, coaching a smaller AAU program, and then getting a job at Taft, Pepperdine, SC. I just wanted to get my feet back on the ground to where I was at. I needed to learn the community, learn the nuances of this whole basketball game, and that's allowed me to continue my journey and my path. I thought USC was a great stepping stone for me in learning how to recruit a certain level of talent, but not only that, developing that talent and seeing that, some of the talent that you're recruiting is starting to get drafted. And so when the Ignite deal opened up, the job wasn't even for me, Rock. I think when Sharif called me, because Brian Shaw, who's the first head coach, left and went to the Clippers.
Yeah.
Sharif called me and asked me, did I know any candidates? And I was like, I gave a few names. Then I called back like, me. That's how it works. So I interviewed for the job. I had a great presentation. And that's how I got the job. And me getting that job, it was predicated on me being at USC, being recruiting, because I'm still in the streets recruiting. Yeah. Not in the streets, but now I go to France. I've been to Africa recruiting. So now it's the same thing, looking for that level of talent. And the USC helped me prepare for that job. And people always ask me, do I want to go back to college or want to do this? I'm just having fun what I'm doing now.
Where you at?
I want to leave this job. When I leave it, I want to make it a desirable job for the next person coming in. So that's what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's outstanding. It's an outstanding journey. I'm surprised knowing you didn't say you first before you I think you was just trying to be modest and give him a couple names at first, but I already know
didn't,
you.
Rock, because I was so brainwashed. College had me brainwashed. I was and I kind of got bitter. I can admit it, because I was waiting to get a head coaching job in college.
Yes, I know. I remember.
Yeah, and for us as assistants, the college world, we teach our players to aim high, but we teach the assistant coaches to aim low. Like, you're not going to get Syracuse, you're going to get Bethune-Cookman.
Start off. Yeah.
So I got tired of that mindset. Like, I'm done with somebody dictating where I'm going with my dreams and what I'm doing. So I'm going to go make a left. And I'm not mad at y'all. I was mad at me for staying in that environment too long.
Got you. Yeah,
so that's why I left.
Yeah, I remember. Oh, I got lost here.
No, you're good. As he puts his mic back in there, real quick, one question while he gets back set up. Was coaching something that you always envisioned yourself doing down the road in life, or one that, vision to become, a head coach, not just an assistant, but I want to be, the head coach of the program, and I have tremendous faith in myself that I can do this?
Well, I've only played 2 positions my whole life. For those that don't know, I played Pop Warner football, so I played quarterback. So I was always leading, calling the plays, telling people where to go, and then point guard. So it's been a coach by nature to lead. And, for any player, you always want to get a chance to lead, to show what you have. So I just think that was the next step. I knew I wanted to coach before I stopped playing basketball. And so I just had to go through my own little personal journey. And I've been having a blast ever since.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Jay, can you give us some notable names that you ran across during your recruiting process? So it's part when you were recruiting, if you got them or if you didn't get them. Or let's just start off with USC. I mean, it was just so much talent that you guys brought in there. Just give the fans a little bit of who they are.
Well, my first recruit ever that committed to me under my time at USC was a guy named Chimezi Metu. He's going into his 6th year in the NBA this year. Very proud, because the idea of him being a pro was far-fetched. People didn't think he could become one. And so that he kind of solidified me in the basketball world as an talent evaluator. But my most important recruit was a guy that was ranked maybe 200. His name was DeAnthony Melton.
Yes, sir.
DeAnthony Melton was a second-round pick out of USC, and he starts for Philadelphia 76ers right now in the day. And so he was the one where people told me that this guy. So it's funny that he's making $8 million now, and next summer he'll be a free agent. I'm pretty sure that's going to go up. So he was kind of my most important. And then all the rest of the guys, the Benny Boatwrights, the Onyeka Ogonkwus, the Jordan Ushers, Jonah Matthews, Nick Vukovic, Boogie Ellis, Reese Dixon. These are some of the guys that their families entrusted me with their kids' dreams. And that's what we are as assistant coaches. We're responsible for their dreams, and we can't recruit kids and get them there and then act like we don't know that the dream was important prior to. So I took pride in that and stand with them through the good times and bad, because my spiel rock was I'm never leaving LA. So you can catch me at the grocery store or the mall. I'm never gonna run from a parent who has a disagreement, and that's what I prided myself on. And I knew that my son would come up one day. I just wanted to give those parents the same level of respect, hoping that I would get it returned with my son when he got to college.
Oh yeah, that's outstanding. That's outstanding. You got to do to others as you want them to do to you, basically.
No, and I tried to put that in the world, praying that the boomerang would come back. You know?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. How's it coming back? Maybe we talk about that over here. But yeah, just going back into that. I know we kind of just jumping all over the place, but this show here is kind of designed. We just having a good Sunday conversation in the morning. We don't have nothing script. We don't got nothing written down or what we want to do. We just want the fans to get a little glimpse of our life here in Lincoln. So I'm going to jump all over the place because I could do that. I want to move back a little bit to you being the position that you've been in as a coach and also being a dad in the basketball world, whereas both of us did the same things. We coached our kids. We've trained our kids, and how did that affect your relationship with you and Jay coming up as you're in this high position, high power as a basketball coach, but yet you're still a dad, right? And you're still trying to make sure your son's dreams are lived as well. So how did that affect your relationship with your son?
Well, I always made it a priority to never talk about players in front of my son, because I love you more than them. First and foremost, still to this day. And so I always help support his dream. Now, obviously, they playing basketball, so you're going to coach them for their own dreams too. Come on, it got to be a little dictatorship too, because they just not going to make it by them being able to do what they want to do. So I always separate the two. Now that he's a 20-year-old young man, our relationship is good. He moved with me to Vegas 2 months to train. Was able to get our bond back. But this your journey, and I support you. And I'm only gonna call you with encouraging letters because you already got enough pressure. Absolutely. So I wanted to make sure that he know that I love you regardless. I made it for you, so don't put that pressure on yourself. Go out and have fun, and just enjoy this time of your life. Because Rock, these young men, they put themselves under so much pressure, it can eat them up inside. And so I didn't want to add to that. And so I just happened to separate the two. Wasn't always the best at it, but now. At this age, it ain't never too late to correct it.
Absolutely. I mean, you've been around me a lot, with raising Ramel the same way. We've had some tough times. I'm tough on him. I always was really tough on him. And I demanded and expected a lot from him because he expected that from himself. So at a young age, like Ramel would tell you as well, it was times where, we beefing and we fighting and all of that stuff. But like you just said, that now that they're young men, like now it's just, I'm all here for encouragement. Like, I'm your dad. I love you no matter what. And I'm here for support. Like people always ask me, like, are you in the gym with Mel still? Are you still? Well, I'm not his primary trainer. I go in the gym and mess around with him a little bit, but I'm just more here for support. Now everything we do as a team. Right. We'll talk, say, hey, he'll be like, yo, Pops, what do you think about this? I probably need to do this. And then we'll collaborate together with this stuff. So anyway, we got a break coming up here. I'm getting the signs here.
Yeah, we'll throw it to break right now. I think that's a good point to leave off on. We got one more segment. It'll be a short one, about 5 minutes, with head coach of the G League Ignite, Jason Hart. We got the host, Ramel Lloyd Sr. of Lloyds and Lincoln, as always, right here on 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com. We'll be back in a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is now open in Lincoln. Shop our expansive collection of wine, beers, spirits, and cigars at 5040 North 27th Street. From top-shelf liquor to crowd-favorite beer, Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits has a beverage for every taste and every budget. Plus, join our loyalty program to earn rewards and save on future purchases. Shop Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits at 5040 North 27th Street in Lincoln. That's 5040 North 27th Street.
How was your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
It's a new era for Nebraska football with a new head coach. Gear up for the season with 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days. Live from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis on July 26th and 27th. Jay Foreman, Amon Green, Vershawn Jackson, Terrell Farley, Derek Pearson, Steve Sipple, and Jake Sorensen will be in Indy for our shows on Wednesday and Thursday. Coverage of Big Ten Media Days is brought to you by Ben Bleicher of Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador Real Estate, Gary Michaels Clothiers, Warhorse Gaming, A1 Automotive, and the 1890 Initiative.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Well, I'm an interior designer. A lot of builders don't have designers on staff. I'm included with our Aspen package and can make your home more custom to your taste, your needs, and your wants.
Rachel's our interior designer at Aspen Builders. She's one of the reasons that makes us really good at what we do. I'm Bob Benish, and we absolutely love how Rachel takes care of our clients.
I think the biggest challenge with building is a lot of clients are worried about all the choices. When they come in, they kind of have a deer in the headlights look. I like to ask people at the end, so what did you think? And usually they pause and they say, you know, you really broke it up, kept it simple. We just did one meeting at a time, so I wasn't looking at all the decisions I had to make. I had plenty of time to decide things. You walked me through it all. It made it simple.
Make your dream a reality and call Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at aspenbuildersinc.com. Your dream home is waiting at Aspen Builders.
You're listening to Lloyds in Lincoln with your hosts, Ramel Lloyd Sr. and Ramel Lloyd Jr.
All right, welcome back into the Lloyds in Lincoln podcast, or excuse me, not podcast. You'll get that later in the day. This is the Lloyds in Lincoln show on 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com. Here on Ticket Weekends, we got head coach of the G League Ignite, Jason Hart, here with us as well. And, of course, the host, Ramel Lloyd Sr. And over the break, we're trying to figure out, where we want to go for this last segment. And because your guys' timelines seem to always kind of add up, weirdly enough, we want to go back in time to draft night. Jason Hart, head coach of the G League Ignite. Kind of want to go back to when you got drafted, your whole draft night, and I believe it was to the Milwaukee Bucks, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what was the kind of whole experience for you going through that draft night, while you're getting there, sitting, waiting for your name to be heard? Just kind of start from the beginning.
Well, it was, I did 4 years at Syracuse, and, we all expected to go, had this dream of getting drafted super high. So for my draft experience, I knew I was getting drafted, definitely didn't know where. I could just remember anxiety. I had a big migraine because you start to get worried. And, by the grace of God, the 49th pick, Milwaukee took me. And then, obviously the odds for second round picks are slim. So I just knew that I had to go in, work hard, be humble. And I used that as motivation to not only show people that I could make it, but show myself and prove to myself. And my whole career was a grind. And looking back on it, people say, "Man, you was a journeyman." I say, "Well, I had 8 or 9 GMs that solidified me and stamped, and now those turned into real relationships." So I used to look at the journeyman as a diss, but now I take pride in it because I had to impress 8 or 9 GMs just to get a job. So I look at it as a salute to myself now.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a blessing. I mean, to even have an opportunity to play at that level, which is the best players in the world. Any job in the NBA
Right.
is nowhere near what you would call this. I know how you're thinking though, Jay, just from being a player, but
I'm kind of curious, what are those workouts for those organizations before the draft? How you do go in and get your workouts in? What is that experience like? Because I feel like I get a array of answers where some organizations are going to test you to your limit and see if they can break you down physically, where other ones feels like just a shoot around. What were kind of those pre-workouts for you?
Well, shoot, all my workouts was test you to your limits. The top 10 picks, workouts is just free throws, form shooting, dinner. My workouts was 3-on-3, 4-on-4, grabbing, holding, fouling. We want to see who's the strongest of this. So that's how my workouts were, and it was very hard. But it's what you prepare for it, and it's all about competing.
Yeah, I definitely had those experiences and all my pre-draft workout stuff. I mean, I wasn't fortunate enough to get drafted, but I definitely went through that process. And they ain't no joke when you're trying to just fight for a job, a second round pick or whatever. You're damn near fighting in there.
Right.
But no, I just wanted, you influence so many young people now, Jay, and so many young kids are not kids, but so many young men are going through that experience of getting drafted and getting drafted at a high level, and you're such a big part of that. So it's just to think back of the day when you got drafted. Does that have any effect on how you deal with some of these young kids? We're giving them advice going towards their draft and their dreams.
Well, yeah, that's for me coaching, Rock. I just tell our guys, like, every missed shot don't mean you're not gonna get drafted high. Every missed name don't mean your opportunity. This is just a part of the process, and you're gonna go through it. And one of the things that we have in our program that all our players get is a mental anxiety coach that we have to kind of take the stress off. The stress of everything is on the line, is right. No, you can still have a life and enjoy it and enjoy this process. And so for me, coaching them, I know what they're going through. So I try to create an environment to where it's okay. You're gonna make some mistakes. It's no big deal. Jason Tatum went 6 for 41 too. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, long as they don't have that anxiety and they can find the joy in playing, the reason why we all started playing, I try to get that environment and create that and keep that. It's a game. Let's have some fun with it. And that's what we try to do.
Absolutely. That's outstanding. Well, listen, I hear the music here coming on. That's our
hey.
Cue. Hey, taking it back. That's the 90s. Harrison, what you know about that? You're a little young. But anyway, we don't have a lot of time left, but I definitely want to thank my brother Jason for coming on the show, dropping some knowledge, and we got to bring him back, man, because
yes, sir. I want to come back when your son is here, man. I need to see Junior.
Yeah, I know you got to see little Mel, and we gonna make that happen. Unfortunately, he had practice today, so he couldn't make it, but we're gonna do it again. All right.
All right, appreciate y'all, man. Thank you, Rock, for having me, man. I appreciate you too, Harrison.
Absolutely. We'll break it down right here. Appreciate head coach Jason Hart of the G League Ignite. Ramon Lloyd Sr., host as always. I'm Harrison Arns pushing the 1 2. This has been Lloyds and Lincoln. Catch the podcast at theticketfm.com and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Yes, sir.